Okay, I think we're good now. I've been trying to set this up for like 30 minutes. Okay, let's do an intro. Hey, what's up? How's it going? My name is Socks. Socks. The dude with the socks. I'm not currently wearing socks. I'm sorry to say, I'm not actually wearing socks right now. Okay, making a video again. Another video. I was gonna start making videos and then I stopped starting doing that. So now I'm starting to try doing that again. So we'll see how this goes. I'm adopting a slightly different format. I am actually using a proper camera and I hopefully upgraded my mic audio quality so I sound a little nicer now. And I'm going to try and edit it a little bit more so it's like an actual like enjoyable YouTube video to watch and not just me talking for like an hour, and that's the entire thing. I'm also going to actually try and draw something this time while I do talk. Last time I was just completely incapable of multitasking like at all, and so I got basically no progress done on the drawing that I was working on. But that was also a commission that I was working on, and I was at a little bit of a stoop moment. I wasn't entirely sure what direction to take that in. This is different. Today I've got a bit of a gnarly piece. It's me crawling out of a heart. I'm gonna try and make a decent amount of progress on this piece. We'll see how far we get, but hopefully I'll be able to actually maintain yeah. So what are we talking about today? A few days ago, I posted a story asking my Instagram followers to ask me things because I hadn't posted in a few days and, I wanted to talk to everybody. So I posted that story and I got a few nice responses. And one of them was somebody asking me if I think dreams have any meaning. I definitely do think that dreams have meaning, and it has to do with like a huge thing that I've been exploring over the past like year since I started college, and that is surrealism. Surrealism. This is a picture that I found on Google of a heart. It fits pretty perfectly. It looks like I'm crawling out of that little top one. Anyways, yeah. Surrealism. This goes back a little bit further to before I knew what exactly surrealism was. So I started my college semester at my college, and during one of my art classes, one of my first drawing classes, my art teacher was teaching us about different drawing exercises that you can do to try out different methods of drawing with the purpose of understanding the thing that you're drawing, if that makes sense. So the point of what he was teaching us was that the way we were drawing that thing was supposed to help us understand the thing that we were drawing better than if we were to just go straight into trying to draw it. And excuse me if I keep glancing over and over. My laptop screen has my recording thing over here, and then behind you, I've hung a pair of my sunglasses on the wall so that way I can use the reflection of the glasses to see the screen of the camera to make sure that it's still recording okay. I know. Call me a freaking genius, okay? What the hell? Battery? Oh my god. Okay, I think we're good now. Soon after we started experimenting with gesture drawings and then some of the other things that he was teaching us, I wanted to try and incorporate it into my like regular art style in some way because I liked the looseness and the sketchiness of it. That felt really nice, and I wanted to incorporate that into just my regular art and see how that looked. And so I figured a good place to start would be to do like a self-portrait of myself using that sort of style. I just hadn't drawn myself in a while, and I wanted to see how the way I wanted to illustrate myself may have changed, and I wanted to incorporate the gestural style into that. So I drew myself very sketchy, very loose, and I changed the way that I wanted to portray myself before. I think I may have done this in my previous video or in a previous one that I ended up never getting to. But the way I used to draw myself was like a little like chibi character, basically. Something like that. And like that's fine, but and I didn't have a nose, and I would basically be like that. Like that's fine, but I wanted something, I wanted to try and push myself a little bit more than doing that. And so I changed to a more rigid sort of structure. And like my hair was kind of up at the time, so it was something like that. As I've gone along, if this was in the last video, something that I didn't do was even more recently, my style has shifted once again to a slightly more simplified version. I'm not as interested in trying to make sure I get this temple and cheekbone line, though sometimes I do include that, but it's not a direct focus. I made my eyes bigger, and I have been working on like emotions and trying to draw like more interesting facial expressions. I would draw an eye bag, kind of like just a little line. Now it's kind of more of it's a larger feature of the face. And then I also have these little nose and like cheekbone eye lines. I think it just adds nice little details to the face. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it just adds some nice little details to the face. And my hair is way longer now than it was at that point. So I draw myself very just like loose and scratchy. And that all goes back to that gestural style. Sure, when it comes to surrealism, so I was doing that gestural style and sketching and stuff, and I was just trying to kind of like play around with the way that I was portraying myself in my artwork. I was trying to be just real funky with it. So, and that kind of led into the surrealism. I vaguely knew of what surrealism was. English class. We had to do a paper. Yeah, it kind of stemmed from my English paper, actually. I was trying to find a subject that I wanted to write about, and I happened upon surrealism, and I looked into it a little bit more. And I was like, damn, this is kind of cool. And so I looked into it more, and I just did a whole bunch of research. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to use for my topic. And it kind of became like a sort of like hyperfixation for a little while, where I was just like low-key obsessed over learning about surrealism and looking at surrealist artwork. I just thought it was so cool. So again, I started incorporating that slightly more into some of my artwork. I was trying to embody that strangeness that surrealism has. So what is surrealism? The surrealism philosophy, at least the original one, at the time, some people were like, man, art is getting so lame right now. I want to have something that's like way more imaginative and expressive. He was like, he was a psychologist, a psychiatrist, something like that. And he was doing studies on mental patients after one of the world wars. And I think it was World War II. One of the things they were getting them to do to try and process their emotions was a thing called automatism, which was completely unhindered. Allow your hand to write or or draw things, or that's what it was turned into. I think what it started was you say words and you just keep talking. You don't think about the next thing you're going to say. You just keep saying things. And eventually your brain starts kind of putting out words that it has kind of locked away in there that you're maybe not able to get across if you try, but if you just start saying things, your brain will kind of naturally get there eventually. And so that was turned into something that they would do to write poetry, and then later it was turned into something they would do to draw. That kind of evolved. The point of surrealism was for it to be fully like expressive and communicate the human mind in a way that hadn't really been done before. And so they didn't really want to hold themselves to a strict set of like guidelines. And so what some people wanted to do was take different approaches. And so some of the other approaches are what just surreal shit. Like that, whenever you think of surreal paintings and stuff, that's what they came up with. And one of the biggest things that drove that specific side of the philosophy was dreams. So obviously the entire thing was trying to tap into your unconscious mind. They felt that the unconscious brain had a lot of untapped potential, creatively speaking, not just for artwork, but they also felt like just in general, like when it comes to solving problems and, thinking creatively, they felt that the unconscious mind had the sort of energy that we needed to bring out into the conscious mind. One of the things that your brain does unconsciously is dream. While you're asleep, you're not conscious. Your brain comes up with visuals, sounds, experiences completely on its own. You have no control over that unless you're lucid dreaming, but that's a different thing, a slightly different thing. Wanted to kind of harness the creative energy that dreams just sort of inherently had. So that involved, writing down your dreams, trying to remember details about them, trying to draw things that you see in your dreams, trying to understand what your dreams might mean, what they might be trying to tell you, so that way you can bring those ideas into your artwork as well through symbolism and all the different ways that you can represent things in art. And so that's the approach that I was most interested in. I thought it was really cool, sort of trying to understand the unconscious side of your brain as best as you could. Understanding the emotions, understanding the thoughts and just the things that you maybe already know, but that you're not really talking about, that you're not really thinking about. And so that's what I started doing. I started writing down a whole bunch of my dreams, as many as I could, drink apple juice to try and have more vivid dreams. The sort of strategy that I think started working for me was I think very actively, pretty much constantly, unless I'm like very intently doing something where it's basically impossible for me to also be thinking separately. So yeah, I started writing down as much as I could remember about any dreams that I was having. And as I did that, I effectively trained my brain to be better at remembering the dreams that I was having. And so I started remembering more of the dreams that I was having. I'm pretty sure you dream every night, technically, but you usually don't even, like, as soon as you wake up, just immediately forget it. But I've started being able to retain at the very least, really vague details about pretty much every dream that I have. And if I don't write it down, then I forget what happened pretty soon after I get up and moving. But if I do write it down, then it sticks in my memory, and even if I do forget it, I have somewhere where I can read it. And it makes it a lot easier to think back on the different things that happen in my dreams. Okay, back on track. So this has just been within the last year that I've been like documenting my dreams. And at this point, I'm pretty sure I have a dream like every time I go to sleep, like a dream that I can remember every time I go to sleep, sometimes multiple that I can remember. And so at this point, I don't even write most of them down. If there's one that seems particularly like notable, then I'll write it down. But like most of them, I just don't even write down at this point, because it's like I don't want to dedicate 10-15 minutes every time I wake up to trying to like hold on to that image in my head and type it down as much as I can, because I just don't feel like doing that. So I haven't been really drawing things that I see in my dreams as much. I have a little bit, some of the things. Like, for example, I did eyes that had some really droopy, they looked like they were effectively melting. And I specifically, like, in the dream, it's not like anything was even happening. It was just kind of flashing pictures of those curly eye, those melty eyes. And so whenever I woke up, sometimes whenever I have a very vivid like visual that I want to mark down, I'll open my notes app and I'll just scribble as best as I can the thing that I saw. So I have done that a little bit, but for the most part, it's been just sort of allowing my brain to come up with ideas. And I think that's been the biggest thing that has aided me in my art journey from surrealism and from analyzing my dreams and stuff like that, is exactly what the surrealists were trying to do, was tap into the creative energy that dreams have. I think I have done that whenever it comes to trying to draw an idea, any idea that you have. I feel like if you go into it with preset restrictions for yourself, well, looking a certain way encompasses a lot of things. You need the lines to look a certain way. You need the colors to be a certain way. You need it to be, it needs to make sense, and it needs to flow together well, and it needs to have a nice composition, and it needs to look clean and neat and aesthetically pleasing, and blah, 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 blah. If you go into that idea with too many restrictions, it's exactly, you're restricting the potential that idea could have. That's not to say that you shouldn't have any guidelines, any restrictions or anything, because it becomes very difficult to consistently draw things if you just like sit down and start going. Like it's kind of difficult. But at least for me, I think most artists use a sketchbook, and whenever I have an idea, just jot it down. I just jot it down. Very loose, very scribbly. Sometimes it's more detailed, sometimes it's less detailed. It just depends on like how concrete the idea is. Sometimes it's just a really vague, like, this is one of those ideas. See? Like, that's barely even barely even recognizable as a heart. Honestly, I don't think it is. The only reason I know it's a heart is because I know it's a heart. I know what I wanted it to be. And so the vague idea was just me crawling out of one of the big arteries. And so I just scribbled that down. You see that thing in the left corner? I don't know what. I do not know what that is. But I just had a vague idea of like inverted, like really abstract inverted face. And so I tried drawing that, and like it looks fine. I don't think I'm going to do anything with it. But the heart thing, I thought, was a cool idea. So now I'm giving detail to the thing to make it more concrete, but I'm still trying to hold the room open for whatever comes up. So like right now I'm just kind of like sketching a heart, and I'm going to be coming out like here-ish. And so like I'm still keeping the floor open for everything else that's going to happen in the piece. I don't know what kind of lighting and shading I want to have. I have no idea what kind of color palette I want to use. I don't know if I'm going to have anything back here in the background. I don't know if it's like, I don't know. I'm on top of this being an art journey thing. This has been a huge mental health journey thing, where I'm trying to acknowledge personal feelings that I struggle acknowledging and confronting, sort of seeking to understand that stuff and portray it artistically has been huge for me, not only just in understanding that side of myself, but also in being able to take the ideas and the feelings and the energy that comes associated with that and actually put it towards something. And I think since I've been able to do that, my artwork has significantly improved. And so now what I'm really doing is I'm trying to improve my technical skill and get better with colors and get better with my line work and lighting and shading and lighting effects and all the different things you can do. And I use Photoshop, so all the different things you can do in here. I'm just trying to improve my ability at doing that. I might read a dream of mine just so y'all can get an idea for how I go about writing down. This was a really cool one. I'm just gonna read pretty much exactly what I wrote down, and then I can show pictures of the little drawings that I did on screen once I get to the parts that they correspond to. I went back in time to a younger version of me with my current brain. We were on a family road trip somewhere. My brother had gotten out of the car to get Dad an apple out of the trunk. My brother got back in and it started sprinkling outside. My brother left the door open slightly for a bit before closing it. Dad started eating the apple. We arrived somewhere and that's when I see this. The most insane space scene ever. Giant star-looking thing setting over horizon, but it had vague stripes with a spot like Jupiter. Below it was solar system planets like Mercury, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter. To the right was a massive, huge planet, cool colors with a rim glow. Massive cosmic clouds behind it all. All the planets aside from the massive one were warm colors. Walking down a wide staircase with a large steps and a rail in the middle, onto a concrete sidewalk with the drop off to what would have been a beach, but was the space scene instead. Greek columns at the edge supporting the overhang. So yeah, me and my family go on this road trip. We arrive wherever our destination is. We walk down this really wide staircase with a rail in the middle onto the sidewalk. And the sidewalk is, decently wide, and then it just drops off. And where there might normally be a beach or some other thing, it's effectively just this space scene, this horizon solar system sunset thing. And then there's like a concrete overhang over this sidewalk with Greek columns supporting it. So continuing on with what I wrote, I seem to be the only person that makes note of how fucking insane this view was, so I ran up to Mom and took her phone out of her hands. Swiped over to the camera and took a couple portrait and a couple landscape photos so I'd have them for whenever I went back to the future so I could draw them. So again, in this dream, my current self is experiencing something that my past self experienced. And so I was like, damn, I'm going to want to draw this whenever I get back to the present time. So I went and took pictures of it. So that way my mom would have them in her phone. So that way whenever I go back to the future, I can be like, hey, Mom, can I get those photos from forever ago? And then I can draw them, which is funny because I do want to draw it. It's not like I guess in a way it is. I kind of was giving myself a mental picture of that scene for my future self, which is like me right now, to draw it. So that's kind of an example of how I would go about recording one of my dreams. I didn't draw as much as I wanted to, but I'm going to continue drawing after this. So maybe whenever I get done talking, I'll just include the rest and as a little vibey time lapse or something like that. If you watch this far, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for listening to me ramble about dreams and surrealism and all that stuff. If you're seeing this and you're not following my Instagram, you should go follow my Instagram. If you see this video, tell me what you thought about it in the comments. Let me know, what do you think dreams mean? Have you had any really funky dreams? Tell me about them. Is there a nightmare or something, or a dream that is just very vivid in your brain? I'd love to hear it. I'm gonna continue working on this piece, and yeah.